would you bet $100 on that? Oh, no, I wouldn't do that because I need to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt to risk $100 on a bet, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm thinking, and then like the more extreme example would be like Texas is playing, FCS school, Wichita State. And I'm like, okay, like there's almost no way Texas is going to lose. For me, I would think, maybe I'd do a friendly small bet on like a clear and convincing case, like Arkansas versus Texas. Okay, yeah, I'll put
much risk
$10.
Like, so
yeah, exactly. It's all, I wouldn't put $100, on some of those things.
So what's the risk in a case that you get it wrong on a child custody case is a loving parent gets the kid, right? Because we know if it's clear and convincing evidence that this parent should not have any involvement in this life, maybe there'd be a termination of parental rights. And you got to do pretty bad things to have a court rule that you're unfit. They'll give you supervised parenting time, at least, right? So on a case of clear and convincing evidence, that's still not enough to convict someone of a crime in America. Now, above that, I always put my hand up there to say there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. If you're convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that someone committed this crime, ladies and gentlemen, in this case, the defendant committed the crime of X, Y, and Z, then you'd find him guilty. So there's clear and convincing evidence. That's a lot of evidence. What's your verdict? If you're clearly convinced, but you have reasonable doubt, not guilty. So you make the jurors basically agree that if they think your client did it, if they think it's more likely than not your client did it, in America, that client is
not guilty.
Not guilty. So what would be your verdict if you're pretty darn sure he did it, but you weren't convinced beyond a reasonable doubt? Not guilty. What if, like, you wouldn't bet your life on it, you're not convinced beyond a reasonable doubt, but you're pretty darn sure he did it, and you just keep doing it over and over again, and you get them trained to say not guilty, and you also program their minds to be doubtful. And
which they should be. I mean, something that I kind of wanted,
skeptical and doubtful.
And you can edit this part out if you want, but I was thinking, I mean, sometimes people on, more my side of the political aisle will, they'll say, well, what about all these problems with this country? We have this problem, this problem, this problem. The thing is that the guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, that standard, I mean, it's brilliant. And it's so important for a free society because, well, first of all, unfortunately, even with that standard, you still have innocent people who are convicted, people who are later exonerated with DNA evidence or with, just overwhelming evidence that they were actually innocent. But I mean, imagine if the standard was lower. You'd have innocent people being convicted left and right. For a functioning system, you need to have the defendant have the benefit of the doubt because something about our minds, our minds as people, we, for some reason, tend to want to err on the side of convicting otherwise. I mean, if the standard was 50-50, if the standard was preponderance of the evidence, imagine, in theory, you'd think that, yeah, people will get it wrong, but, generally with the 50-50, people should get it right most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah.
I think you get it right, maybe get it right 90% of the time.
But how many lives would you ruin?
I mean, can you imagine a 10% fuck-up rate on trials? That would be so devastating.
Nightmare.
The old adage is, it's, better to have 100 guilty people be let off than one innocent person be put to jail, right? Now, I always find it strange that on the right side of the aisle, I get along best with jurors that are, very conservative, pro-constitutional, pro-Second Amendment, liberty-minded people. And what's the first thing you'd see them on a Facebook post that says, we should execute pedophiles without a trial? It's like, man,
yeah.
They're like, yes, because they are governed by their emotions and they can't think thoughtfully, and that's just a problem with our educational system, that we don't teach people how to think. We teach people how to be factory workers, and that profession is hard to find, nowadays, right?
And there's like a kernel of truth to that. I mean, the people who abuse children, that's despicable, evil, wrong. That's the kind of thing that we want to stamp out from this world. But
those people should die, right? Like those people, look,
or maybe they deserve to die.
They deserve to die, right? It's hard to, if I'm convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that somebody did something, I don't think I would be, if I had any doubt at all, I don't know, I had a hard time.
Like even a smidgen of doubt, I'd be like, yeah.
Can you imagine being falsely accused? We imagine all the time, because clients all the time are falsely accused of child sex crimes.
Like the most unimaginably horrible things. And I think of that, I think of, going to court and being like, look, like these accusations are horrible and disgusting, but our client didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like you should and can and should be disgusted by them, but don't take it out on our client because he legitimately didn't do it. We're not saying that he didn't do some of it. We're not coming up here and saying, well, he only did half of that. We're saying he didn't do it at all. And yeah,
but you're walking in with that stigma that plus there's this almost a religion that people don't lie about sexual abuse. Like there's people that believe that children and women don't lie about sexual abuse.
It seems like that would make sense. Yeah, to the average person would say, how could anybody lie about
Yeah,
something like
because
that, you
the
know?
reason you think that is because you're not a sociopathic, broken person that would lie to get your way. And like the old, DA trick is, what motive do they have to lie? Well, they have a tiny little thing to gain. Like, why would they lie about that? Yeah, they're fucking broken.